Ireland has changed so much in the last few decades that I've been around. Ever since I was a child, I've been witnessing the changes that have taken place around me. And just a few moments ago, I bought this bottle of water from a service station that I've just driven from. It just seems like everywhere we go now, there's people and faces that I just don't recognize. And it really feels like I'm not where I used to be. And that change and the uncertainty brings about a certain excitement, but it also creates a sense of displacement. I'm not quite sure where I am or where I fit anymore. And without a stable sense of place, it's really hard to know where you're going or where I'm going. So a few months ago, I made a video about how I discovered the essentials of Adlerian psychology and the narrative structure of identity, and how that really helped me to understand the stories that I was telling myself over and over as a way of reinforcing this sense of self was really holding me back from exploring the potentials and aspects of my personality that I had long repressed or suppressed or concealed or rejected. I'm really starting to feel the need to stop with all of the self-condemnation, all of the guilt, and to stop betraying myself and to stop treating myself as if I don't matter. And that's been a big turning point for me over the last few months, learning to really see my own potential and see my strengths and see myself as someone whose life counts. The reason I couldn't accept myself as someone who matters was because it really was quite clear to me that my life and my perspective on life and who I was didn't really matter to anyone around me. And I always felt that I was more of an accessory, maybe you could say a hindrance, than someone who people really wanted to be around, or someone who other people really wanted to have in their life. That really goes a far, far back into the annals of history. And over the last year or so, I've been looking at this history in a different way, trying to kind of piece together a kind of a coherent narrative that could support or that could serve as a foundation for something new. But one of the things that I've noticed is that my self-awareness isn't really sufficient. No matter how much I examine myself and my history, and it doesn't really change unless I go out and deliberately change my actions and change my behavior and create new possibilities, uncover new avenues of growth. One of the big questions is, how do I understand my own talents and skills and potentials? It just doesn't seem to be possible unless I go out there and actually kind of explore who I am in different situations by using the world as a mirror. For example, one of the things that I've learned is that I have the ability to bring together two different voluntary groups in pursuit of a common goal. I volunteer a lot. I like to volunteer. I think it allows me to develop skills and aspects of my personality that I wouldn't get to develop otherwise, because while work has been a very challenging part of my development, it has been hugely rewarding, and I've learned so much at work, how to manage myself and manage my relationships with other people. There are certain things that just aren't possible in my job, that I have to seek opportunities to develop those potentials in other venues. I feel an irresistible urge and drive to understand what I'm capable of. And this year I've decided that I need to push myself more than I've ever pushed myself before. I feel like for so long I've really held myself down because I felt as if my life didn't matter very much. There was quite a lot of evidence in my history that kind of supported that conclusion. But I've learned that story is not really my story. It was an inheritance, maybe, that perhaps I don't need to accept. I don't need to pay the tax on that. I probably have paid the price of that inheritance, more so than I should have. I don't want to do that anymore. So I've always wanted to visit Paris. It's 2025 now, we're in January. So a few weeks ago, I booked a holiday in Paris for myself and for my mum. And we'll go to Paris in May, and hopefully we'll get to see everything that we want to see and experience everything there. This will help me to change the trajectory of my life so that it will be a good story to tell rather than quite regrettable story that it has been so far. So I'm very hopeful for that. And I'm looking forward to it. And in the meantime, I will be taking classes on Thursdays in media studies and digital skills. So why am I taking this course? I want to learn something that I've not really learned before, something that I've never even thought about before. And this short course is only 12 weeks long, will help me come out of my comfort zone and to think about something completely different. And it will also help me to focus on media skills and social media skills, because that's a large component of the course. So it'll support, hopefully, with making more videos. There's so much more that I want to do. You know, sometimes I feel like my current job holds me back from doing the things that I want to do. And that's a thought that keeps arising in my head from time to time. I might feel sometimes that my job is a hindrance, but it has been a very reliable routine over the last 3 years, and it has helped me to develop in ways that I was really lacking. And it has allowed me to develop more confidence with people in a way that I really couldn't have learned outside of a 9-to-5 workplace. I think it was really important for me. So despite all of the complaining that I do about my job, I probably wouldn't be in a position to speak about the progress that I've made without that job. And there have been a lot of changes in this job. Lots of people have come into the job, come into the company. Lots of the people that have left have been very influential in my development. They had to leave in order for me to actualize what I've learned. And I know that word is tossed around a lot, but I think sometimes when we learn from people, one of the things that I do is I internalize and I adopt a lot of the strengths of other people. And when I assimilate these parts of other people, it's always so that I can become a better version of myself. It helps me to channel the parts of myself that are repressed or underdeveloped. So I'm very grateful to have met the people that I've met in this job. They've really been sources of mentorship, and it has been a laboratory for my personal development. Because it is actually a laboratory, and that metaphor is quite apt to describe what it has been like to work there. And the work is very repetitive, but the challenges are always novel. There's always something for me to learn about myself, always a new interpersonal problem or dilemma to solve or navigate. It's been a very productive 3 years, despite the fact that I haven't made very much money at all because the job does not pay very well. I have made progress in different ways. And hopefully in 2025, I'll get to see the fruits of that labor. So, as I've said, I made a video a few months back that outlined my thoughts about changing the narrative of my life. And I feel I might be in a place where I can actually set about doing that in a meaningful way that I hadn't been able to do before. So I hope to continue making videos like this. I hope to really ramp it up. I know I've said that in the last video that I wanted to do this regularly, and I really do. It was difficult for me to kind of summon the courage to produce a video because it's such a self-conscious exercise. It makes you really think about yourself, and then I have to go and edit the video and look at myself again. And it really is like looking into a mirror and confronting and encountering yourself. You can't help but be afraid of a process like that, but it's necessary. Sooner or later, we have to face the person in the mirror or on the video camera to understand what he wants, who he is. That seems to be the whole point. So I leave it there for now, and let's see what next week brings.